Hello, I'm Fast Lawyer. Today we're going to review Pulse VR, a game released on the Steam Store April 26, 2024 by developer Tensori. It is a VR port that received full VR support May 30th, 2025. It normally retails for $9.79. I did buy this game and I tested it out on the Meta Quest 3 using link cable. Pulse is a walking simulator featuring liminal spaces. There's pools and then there's even more pools. It does not have traditional horror mechanics or tropes. There are no monsters chasing you. I had a friend who played this and had mixed feelings because he said nothing ever happened. And he compared it to a big maze that you get lost in and have to solve. And with all apologies to my dear friend, I'm gonna have to tell him that he's wrong. Yes, Pulse is not a traditional horror game. In fact, it's not a traditional game at all. It is games as art. It is an experience. There is no maze to solve. That's not the point of this game. It's a journey. It's an experience. It's a subversion of your expectations, which requires introspection of yourself. You look into the abyss and the abyss will look back into you. Pulse is a gaming masterpiece that is best experienced in VR. If you played this game in non-VR, then I feel sorry for you. We may have played the same game, but we did not share the same experience. Pulse shines in VR, and the reason is because of the total immersion you have. I felt the total isolation. I felt the total paralysis of choice. Should I go this way or should I go that way? Of being surrounded by impossible spaces. The cosmic horror of events greater than yourself controlling your fate, and the feeling of being drowned in pools of water, coming to grips with your mortality, contemplating your frailty, and trying to divine meaning from your existence. Pulse is an art masterpiece. It is genius, and I would rate it a 10 out of 10. It is perfection. And I will admit that I cried while playing this game, which seems like an unusual reaction to a walking simulator or a supposed horror game. Obviously, not everyone's reaction is going to be like mine towards this game. My friend didn't like it, but I'm trying to get him to finish the game and maybe he'll change his mind. But maybe he won't, and that's okay. This game is definitely not for everyone. I definitely don't think you should play this game thinking that it's a horror game or that it's a maze game that needs to be solved. And especially early on in this game, you might walk around in circles and maybe start to get frustrated and start to think that there's a start or an end to this experience. And technically there is, but that's not really the point. You have multiple paths to go through. And for me, it was just acceptance of what was going to happen is going to happen. So door number 1 might lead to the next section of the game, or it might just lead me right back to where I was. Either way though, you let yourself just experience it. I definitely recommend playing this game when you're alone, where you have no outside distractions whatsoever. And that's why VR is great in this game, because it is a way to easily accomplish that. It took me a little bit over 3 hours to experience all the levels in this game, including episode 0. There's a total of 6 levels, and episode 0 is a bonus level. And I would recommend playing the whole game in one sit through if possible. All the levels just kind of meld together and they don't really feel like levels. They feel like one entire experience. But you may notice the different themes in each level. The game is running on the Unity engine. On my RTX 3080, I was getting a steady 90 frames per second. For the most part, although I did experience some frame rate drops here and there, you do have full locomotion along with teleportation available. You also have smooth and snap turning available, comfort options, and you can play comfortably seated or standing. I did not experience any serious issues or bugs. The only issue of note to mention is that on the bonus level, level 0, I did notice some clipping. There was this portion of the map where I could see through the geometry, and the swimming underwater could honestly use some polish. And I would recommend leaving the teleport on because I did get stuck in a ladder in one of the levels. Speaking of which, the VR interactions in this game are very basic. Climbing ladders is probably the most immersive interaction here. You can interact with some objects, such as the floaties, but there's also several objects you will not be able to interact with. There are several parts of the map that you will not be able to get into. Keep in mind this is a VR port, so it makes sense that it wouldn't be the most interactive game. Be prepared to do a lot of walking, and if you feel like running through the experience you can, but I would recommend not trying to run through the whole thing. This is not a speed run game. And I know I'm running through a lot of the video gameplay that you're seeing, but I want to show off to you as much of the game as possible in this short amount of time that we have. I also try to show as little as possible because I didn't want to show the whole game, so I only showed a section of the game. But I think it's representative of the whole game, and this is what you should expect. And I'll be honest here, stuff does happen, but just not very often, and you should not expect stuff to happen. Again, that's not really the point of this experience. There is no story in this game, and there really is no gameplay either. This is all about the journey into liminal spaces, and you might feel like something's about to happen, and that's what you should feel as you walk along these corridors. The spaces feel eerie, and they may make you feel uncomfortable. You might feel like you're being watched, and you're constantly making choices of where to go. You have door A, door B, and door C, and you don't know what's behind the door. And you might choose door number 1 and feel like you're making progress and you're going forward, but you end up back to where you started, or you might discover a space that just doesn't make any logical sense. You should feel isolated, and you might come to realize that despite there maybe being something beyond the reach, the unknown, the real horror is the realization that there might be nothing, and you come across the abyss and you might fall into it, and then you'll respawn just somewhere nearby. And eventually these liminal spaces gave me an oppressive feeling of loneliness, of sadness. It made me contemplate what was going on in my life. And I haven't mentioned this before, but my mom recently passed away, and I've been struggling with those feelings of thinking of what you could have done differently, the warning signs that you missed, different choices you could have made that might have changed the outcome. And you think of yourself and your own mortality, your short time on earth. And in the end, that is what art does. It makes you question. Good art can evoke powerful emotional responses, communicate complex ideas, and offer new perspectives on the world. Art can be therapeutic. I've played many horror games, but none of them made me feel what this game did, which is the utter despair of looking into the abyss and seeing the reflection of your life. I give Pulse VR a 10 out of 10. It is a gaming masterpiece.